Welcome back to Sports First. I am your host, Sabotage, and we are here back for another edition of NBA Ballage League. All around, look around, scores, look at the conferences, couple of stats under 10 minutes or so. Surprising. I wouldn't say surprising, but actually it is surprising. Wizards at number one in the East Coast, ladies and gentlemen. That's a big shocker with 10-4. Obviously, there was a lot of additions to this Wizards team. I'm sure they had a loss today. Yes, they did. It was like a 10-point loss against the Hornets. I mean, it's kind of early, but I guess we'll see how everything goes. Their last win was against the Pelicans. They had one against the Magic, one against the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers one was somewhat of a good win, but the Cavaliers actually have a couple of players that are out at the moment, as in Evan Mobley, Kevin Love, Colin Sexton's out for sure. He's been out for about 6 or so. They actually beat the Bucks also. And they also beat Memphis Grizzlies. 3 really big wins in a row. The Bucks didn't have C.J. McCollum. He just came back. Not C.J. McCollum. Chris Middleton. C.J. McCollum plays for the Blazers, obviously. Grizzlies have. I'm sure they have. Not too sure who they're missing at the moment, but obviously here. I mean, they're really like they're young, but they're a team that's just, I guess maybe if anything's missing for that Grizzlies team, still a good win anyways. It's just a little bit more experience for that Grizzlies team, even though they had that playing game last year. They did lose to a Atlanta Hawks team that just hasn't been so great, but like if you catch them on a bad day, you're gonna obviously beat them as an Atlanta Hawks. Just they haven't really. I mean, they did get a good win against the Celtics, but the Celtics haven't been so great this season so far. And the Wizards have actually beaten the Celtics twice. I mean, the Wizards have actually beaten the Celtics twice. Any other big wins? Can't say that the Pacers was a big win at all. They had actually a 14-point game against the Nets. Other than that, I mean, they had a win and they had a loss against the Atlanta Hawks, so it's here and there. Then a kind of a bad loss against the Raptors because the Raptors are somewhat of a rebuild team. They have a back-to-back against the Heat, which should be pretty good games, I guess. But they did add with that trade they had for Westbrook, they added Montrezl Harrell, KCP, Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma looking decent out there and with them boys in the Wizards. Then who is it that? Oh, they actually don't have Rui Hachimura right now, but they did add Spencer Dinwiddie. I think they added him last year, or am I tripping? One of the two. But then they have Daniel Gafford and Danny Abdai. They have a pretty decent team. I'm going to go ahead and try that. My player. And they actually added Aaron Gordon from the Pacers. Other team to look for. I mean, it's still early in the season, so you really can't say too much about any team because it could just flip upside down like Will Smith and his crew. Atlanta Hawks, they're actually, like I just said, they're not looking so great. It's just day to day with that team. They did lose, I think it was DeAndre Hunter. They lost DeAndre Hunter, but they had some players come back. I'm sure Gallinari wasn't there for a good minute. They're actually on a 3-game winning streak right now. But like I said, I don't think Gallinari was there for a little bit. Kevin Huerter's picking stuff up, but it's actually probably been one of their best players. Cam Reddish looking decent after that long layoff for, I'm pretty sure he did come back actually during the playoffs, but he looking decent. Any other team, I expected a little bit more from the Pistons. They're here and there, still young somewhat. They've been rebuilding for a year and a half or so, Bucks 7-8. That's a big shocker, but they are missing DiPincenzo. Their Middleton just came back yesterday, and they ended up beating the Lakers, even though the Lakers had a 10-point lead at one point. But once we get to the West Coast side of things, we'll get a little bit more into that. Um, Raptors, I mean, it's not too. I mean, they're technically in a playoff spot. If the playoffs were to start today, they'd be in a play-in spot. They'd be ahead of the champions. Them Celtics 76ers, I actually thought their record was much better. Theirs and the Knicks have kind of been on a slump themselves. 76ers have actually lost 5 in a row, which is actually kind of shocking. I mean, Joel Embiid, that's who they're missing. I forget that Joel Embiid is actually injured, and they don't have Benny Hanna anymore. I don't know what's going on with that deal. I heard something the other day, but I'm not too sure, so I'm not gonna go ahead and say. I forget what one of them reporters, what McCollum said, but their last losses have been against Jazz, Pacers, Raptors, Bucks, Knicks, and the majority of those teams haven't been playing great themselves, and they're losing to them. So that's not a good sign. Even though they have a lot of good players, that is in Shake Milton, Tobias Harris. They added Andre Drummond. He was looking pretty decent for them in the beginning of the season. And Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, pretty decent. Korkmaz hitting his threes. George Niang is actually playing here and there, but a pretty decent addition. So they're just missing players. Need a little re-up. That's what I'm getting at. Hornets, pretty decent team all around. 4-game winning streak. Heat 3-game winning streak. After that, lost to was it the Lakers? Did they go to overtime? Not too sure. But Bulls, not I wouldn't say surprise, but usually takes a little time for teams. But they added a bunch of players that are, I would say, in their prime or getting into their prime. I don't know. DeMar DeRozan has kind of been in his prime for a long time, but looking better for them. I think we're gonna actually end it for today. We'll get to the West Coast on another day. Sabotage.